More and more young adults are living with their parents longer, struggling to find a job, essentially just failing to launch or being in a state of arrested development. And instead of hand wringing about it, I want to kind of dive into why I think that this is happening, how it's going to shape our broader economy, and what we can potentially do to solve it. I write a newsletter about money psychology, and you cannot write about the economy or personal finance without taking into account social factors, the current culture, because all of these things interact and influence the way that we think about money and make financial decisions. And so I think if you see these trends about Gen Z, struggling to find a job or, not hitting these adult milestones that, maybe their parents were hitting at their age, we shouldn't just look at it as like, oh, this generation is failing at something, or, oh, it has to do with like the socialization of that generation. It's all of these things intersected together. The unemployment rate for Gen Z is around 11% right now, which is more than double the national rate of like 4.5%. According to the Federal Reserve, roughly 12% of 18 to 24-year-olds right now are considered like disconnected, which means they're not working, not looking for work. That is higher than any year between 1989 and 2009. And I think people sometimes blame, like I said before, these social issues, or sometimes people are blaming AI for taking these entry-level jobs, or they're pointing to a frozen job market where, you can't break through. And I think those things are also true, but I do think a lot of the way that Gen Z makes financial decisions is very much shaped by the current economy that they're in. They are in a vastly different economy than millennials when they were coming of age, or boomers when they were coming by age. And, I don't know if you've seen, but there's headline after headline of, job seekers applying to thousands of jobs, not hearing back at all. If the job market feels like humiliation ritual. And, even when Gen Z can find work, they're facing a world where they're often not even getting trained properly for their jobs, so they end up struggling. And they're facing a world where the traditional formula doesn't work anymore. So they're in these 9 to 5s, and no matter how hard they work, they cannot get ahead. And so the whole contract of like, you'll work hard, you'll build wealth, feels hollow to them. They feel like it's not true. They'll never be able to reach these milestones like buying a home, retiring, etc. So a lot of Gen Z is wondering, well, if this contract is broken, what's the point of even trying? And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of nihilism in that generation. And as I said before, so much of this is a mix of economic, cultural, and psychological forces. When capitalism feels broken and working hard does not guarantee stability, a lot of people are going to choose nihilism over participation. And if you're interested in reading more about how Gen Z thinks about money and the broader economy, you should subscribe to my newsletter. The link is in my bio.